and shakers of the corporate governance, the corporate industry in Pakistan. These people are not only domain experts, but those that have spent considerable time in the fields that they're in, and they have really made a mark for themselves. We're here to learn from them, and we're here to help contribute to the knowledge economy. Today's topic was something very interesting because some of our members have been very much involved in digital payment solutions. And we thought it's more appropriate because post-pandemic digital payment solutions have found new kind of importance and significance in our lives. And I thought it would be even more appropriate to discuss this on our signature show, The Global Thought Space. We've got a very interesting panel with us today of our members and some guests as well. Starting out with Mr. Habib Paracha, who is the co-founder at Blinq and also one of the investors in Saqib. He is someone with lots and lots of experience. He knows how to literally make startups work, and he's also very, very proud of the fact that he's also Pakistan's biggest producer for Hollywood. He's, someone very accomplished, and we're very proud to have him here. Then we've got Mr. Asif Hasan. He's the CEO and co-founder at Blinq. And then we've got Mr. Adnan Ali. He's the CEO of Apps. And we'll let you hear more from them. But before I go on and discuss the technical side of things, I'd like to ask Mr. Habib Paracha. Habib, you have been involved with a lot of new startups and businesses, and I know you've been, been very forthcoming when it comes to creating the right kind of image for Pakistan, a positive image for Pakistan. Where did you identify that need for getting into digital payment solutions? Where did you see the lack, and when did you realize it?
I can't hear you. Is there a lag? Yeah, I couldn't hear
You
the
are
question.
lagging, Anza. You are lagging actually.
Right, Habib,
Can you repeat your question?
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now. Can you repeat the last part of your question?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yes. I think you lost her.
Right. Just a second. Let me just switch to an alternate. There will have. So why did you think it was important? Why did you think it was something like this?
I'm sorry, what? I couldn't hear
Maybe
you,
she's
Anza.
switching her internet. She's switching her internet. Maybe yes.
Right.
I think what I heard that she wanted to ask what is something stopping Pakistan to go towards a digital journey. It was something like
Yeah.
that.
So, look, I mean, I guess everyone has a different experience in that, but for me, primarily, I've spent a lot of time outside of Pakistan. And one of the realizations I have every time I come back home to Karachi is that, we are so far behind technologically. And it's not because we are lacking innovation, because the innovation is out there. We're lacking simply, I feel, because of there being a shortage of will to execute. And in my own other businesses, I realized that without the innovation in finance and accessibility of good financial products and solutions for people in mass, it's going to be very difficult for people to break the chains of poverty and for there to be wealth creation and creating entrepreneurial opportunities for people. And that's kind of how I got involved with this space initially, where the first investment of mine in Sadapay was because I realized how much of a changer companies like this can be, and how I feel, and I'm very open about this, that I feel that a lot of the existing 40 odd banks in Pakistan, sadly, they're very archaic and very averse to taking some basic risk in creating systems that are encouraging towards entrepreneurship and so my reason for getting into this was primarily this, that I want to bring about innovation in finance and create an ecosystem that is conducive to entrepreneurship and wealth creation.
Absolutely. And, I think you've done a tremendous job. But what I would also like to now ask Mr. Asif Hasan in particular would be that, Asif Saab, there's a lot of talk about financial
Could not hear you.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you. You can't guess this time, Adnan.
I mean, this time we can't even guess what the question is. So while while we're waiting for her, I guess, you know, I think for the audience that may be listening, fintech is probably the easiest way to do it. And that doesn't take away from the requirements of the state bank or the other regulators or the government. For example, in the United States, one of the major issues I see in Pakistan is the lack of adoption to digital. And the reason for that is that, um, you know, there's just not enough protection of the consumer when it comes to digital. So, for example, in the United States, credit card transactions are insured. Your bank accounts are insured, so up to a certain amount. So, in the event of any fraud, you're protected. And what that does, that helps with the adoption. Sadly, in Pakistan, as of yet, on the regulatory level or on the government level, those types of innovations have not been done. And financial inclusion is the most important thing because without that, we're not going to be able to do much. Um,
So, we took a step back actually. Just adding on what Habib is just saying, financial inclusions. What we decided actually, majority people here in Pakistan, majority companies here in Pakistan, they don't have a ERP. They're using Excel sheets to actually print out invoices and send the invoices to their customers. So, जब वो उनकी invoices ही digital नहीं होंगी, how would their end customer pay? So what we did as a first step is actually to make the invoicing engine that we have right now actually digitalizes all the customers who are not using any software for their invoicing to make their bills available online. तो हम लोग ये टेक्निकली एक इंक्लूजन का ही पार्ट है कि ऐसे लोगों को हम पहले उस सिस्टम में तो लेके आए जिस सिस्टम के अंदर वो है ही नहीं, मतलब देयर कस्टमर डोंट हैव एनी ऑप्शंस टू पे, मतलब दे आर स्टिल, अगर इफ यू गो इन, यू कैन गो आउट इन मेनी इंडस्ट्रीज, यू गो इन द मैन्युफैक्चरिंग साइड, you must have seen ऑर्डर बुकर्स आते हैं, दे आर टेकिंग ऑर्डर्स ऑन अ पीस ऑफ पेपर एंड देन दे गो आउट. इसी तरह से आपके स्कूल की बिल्स हैं, चलान्स हैं, दे आर sent out through your child's diary, stapled in your child's diary. They're not using any system for invoicing. तो हम लोग पहले स्टेप में ये कह रहे हैं that we are actually automating the bills of any institution through our invoicing engine, whether that can be through an integration with their existing system, अगर वो यूज कर रहे हैं, अगर वो यूज नहीं कर रहे हैं, then we give our invoicing engine to them to actually digitalize their bills. In the second step, what we do is people like apps, NIFs, OneLink, we partner with these institutions, और उसके बाद ये सारी चीजें हम पेमेंट्स जो है इन चैनल्स के थ्रू हम राउट कर रहे हैं.
So I just like to add what Asif said. Basically, as when there are two parts of financial inclusion. One for the end customer, like if they have bank accounts, so they can make financial transactions. But other part, which is a very important part, is the financial inclusion of retailers, business owners, SMEs, and the merchants. The problem, what is with Pakistan, as Asif said, that these people are even not digitally enabled from inside to use digital transactions. They are happy to receive cash, most of the times what we see that we get vouchers from schools, okay, the physical printout vouchers, and then I have to send my rider or office peon and they go and just deposit cash into the school. Okay, so school is a first class brand of the country, and I am financially inclusive person. I've been a digital or financial guy for more than 18 years now, but still I have to work in a brick and mortar fashion to pay my children's school fee. So we have to do a lot, and we have to engage ourselves with the merchants. Unless we digitize them, they can't be financially inclusive nation. Okay. And then other part, people have to, they they have to have solutions on their fingertips, on their smartphones, on their cars, on their bank accounts via internet banking, so they are actually enticed to perform digital transactions. And that's what Blinq is doing, that's what apps is doing. First, to we help merchants to, to become digitally enabled merchant with ease of integrations. We provide sandboxing, we provide multiple instruments to them. I know when we talk with merchants, they sell, it's really hard to get engaged with bank. Like one of the top banks in Pakistan, if you want to use their payment gateway, so you have to go to the website, email to the bank, somebody is going to receive the email, and then they'll call you. Then a guy will come at your office if your office is at Laya or in Larkana. So do you really think that bank guy, consumer guy or retail guy is going to come at your office and get the form signed? So it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of energy for the merchants to enable themselves to start accepting payments. So that's what we are, enabling them. That's what we are resolving problems for them. How this is how we are resolving. So unless we enable them to get ease of technology, and then you bring on banks, you bring on Visa, Mastercard, UPIs, all those great schemes who are actually movers and shakers for digital transactions. So that's how you can actually help industry to grow. So it's like work with merchants, SMEs, helping them, onboarding them, and then work with banks and schemes, and along with the regulator. We are in process of getting license from central bank to become indigenous payment gateway of Pakistan. So that's how you can actually, bring up the society and become more financially inclusive entity and country. Anza, I
We
think
can't
it's
hear.
better you send your question over uh,
Yeah.
chat. How does one tackle the issue of security and what are the concerns? Okay. Security has been a biggest challenge worldwide. It's not only in Pakistan. We keep seeing cybersecurity frauds either in China and US, any part of the world. Even in the one of the biggest entities, you see. So it's like uh, it's like police and chore. ये तो it's a game, and
चलता रहेगा.
it will ये चलता रहेगा. So but I can actually tell how we are tackling this. First, we are complying with PCI. This is one of the biggest standards in the world. Then two-factor, or every single transaction is a two-factor transaction where customer input their credentials, either a debit card number or a credit card number, and then they get OTP on their mobile phone. So it's an OTP, two-factor based transactions. Then you have to put in smart and intelligent fraud management systems which actually learn the pattern of transactions. They are critically analyzing data of every single transactions. There are certain rules which are applied for consumers, for banks, for instrument, and for transactions. So by applying all these sort of things, and there are certain controls and governance related issues and standards. If you comply these things, and in parallel you educate customer, then you can live with the cyber security. But
Yeah. But
reality is,
sorry, Adnan. I,
this will always prevail, and we have to fight with it. You know, you can't stop digital transaction only because of cyber security. I've seen banks have been skeptical, of late after the debacle of one of the banks in Pakistan. So they are very, choosy about whom they are partnering with, what sort of digital initiatives they are bringing in. So, but we have to live with this. We have to be smart enough. We have to put in the technology, security framework, comply them, and then offer solution and services to the customer.
I was going to
Yeah, Habib.
add, Okay, look, here's the thing. Anything that we're trying to do in Pakistan, as far as financial inclusion or even banking infrastructure upgrades is concerned, is nothing that's not already been done, tried, tested, and implemented in other parts of the world. And we have also been able to see the benefits that have been derived by those type of upgrades to the overall economy as well as to the overall system in other parts of the world. So while I understand the apprehension to resist change, that's typical. That resistance is actually creating a bottleneck for growth. And yes, there will be problems. There are problems with everything you do. Anything new you step into, there's always going to be a problem. However, there are solutions to mitigate those problems as well. And the biggest solution is insurance. We there's car insurance. I mean, people get cars stolen, and electronics, when you buy, sometimes they don't work. People don't stop buying them because what if there's a short circuit and it doesn't work? You still buy it because the benefit of it far outweighs any problems associated with the small percentage of problems that may occur. So it's high
Uh,
time we start doing that too, Asif.
it's just the next question what Anza has just posted on the screen. Uh, why is this people still conventional? Actually, it's what the people have since COVID last year. A lot of people have actually were forced to go digital. It's true that most people were comfortable using conventional methods, conventional banking check method, but they were forced to go digital. And trust me, in the last 1 year, the number of transactions, the way they have boomed in Pakistan and globally, people that have actually opted for, I have first-hand experience with these people. They are now, they don't want to move out of this. They're so much comfortable now because of this COVID. They have to opt for it, and now they don't want to move out of it. So slowly and gradually, people are learning the digital payment and the benefits of it.
Right, Habib, I
Like
would
to
also
add a
like to
point.
say
I just like to add a point that it's not about like people are comfortable with conventional banking. They want digital solution. They want digital instruments. Of course, if you provide them, that's the main thing. Okay. So but we've seen how IBFT has risen in the days of COVID. It is about double the volume. We have seen e-commerce has grown more than 70%. So if we provide people digital banking, they are ready to opt it, and what do you expect from all those millennials? Would they really stick with conventional banking? No way. Now I can't remember seriously when did I go to my bank branch.
Right.
So you can't say
A very
they are comfortable. You can say that they since they didn't have enough options, so
yeah,
they had to be, they had to use it. But I think what people like us, people like Blinq, people like Sada Pay, EMIs, more PSO, PSPN, and then the digital banks which are coming into the scene, those people who are using conventional banking, they will move out. And what I see that most of your millennials, they will move out to, they will only opt actually digital banking, digital companies. There is no way they'll go to conventional banks. And that's why people are investing into the digital landscape of Pakistan. That's why people like us living into the future of Pakistan, and living banking jobs, and running our own companies uh, to be a digital company and digital and serious part of digital ecosystem. So people will adopt change if they are offered in a right and appropriate manner to them. Okay. I see
Right.
Habib wants to add something. Habib, you have invested into Sada Pay, which is one
Yes,
of the pricing EMI, which will actually change the landscape and how banking is performed these days. So please add
absolutely.
on.
Like I said earlier, my main reason for doing that was because I understand that innovation needs to happen. And many a times, when I'm dealing with a regular bank, I'm like, what's the need for this, overly burdensome, cumbersome process, um, which can be very easily digitized? And what the biggest benefit of digitization is the time saving. Being a very busy person myself, digitization has saved me a lot. I mean, it's like today when everyone has a smartphone in their hand, can you imagine like when I used to grow up, we used to only have landlines. So you used to be completely disconnected from people for 6, 8 hours in a day, and things used to happen. But look at how much productivity has increased in the same human beings simply because of the ability to be communicating and connected at all times. Same goes for financial inclusion and financial products.
Clarity.
When you're able to do all of those things, all those transactions, all of those things at the click of a button, it leads to faster transactions and more transactions. That's the basic reason. So SadaPay has been exceptional in that way. SadaPay has just not even launched completely. They have a wait list of 200,000 people. And that just tells you how ready the market is.
Eager.
My
Yeah.
only fear, though, is that, because the size of the digital banks is still relatively small as compared to the old school banks, that I fear that, these old school banks may want to try and acquire these neobanks and try to integrate them into their own existing operations. And what I fear out of that is that will lead to a complete stop in the innovative process that a digital bank is. Because you need a company to be very lean, you need a company to be very quick on its thinking, light on its feet, so to speak, to be able to do those innovations. Less paperwork, less, let's just say, red tape that exists in an old school bank. Um, you know and obviously using data that is available by with AI and machine learning, the data that is available, utilizing that to come up with better controls and customer products, etc. And I think SadaPay is going to do that, and so will Blinq to a different in different verticals, but our plan is also to do that. Asif,
It is not just that the end consumer, for example, would benefit from this. The merchant itself has a lot of value if these payments come digitally to them. They can reconcile so easily. They don't have to open 10 bank accounts providing services to their consumers. So it's not just the end consumer that is benefiting out of it. It's the entire ecosystem that benefits out of it.
yeah, I
Am I
agree.
audible?
You are now.
Am I audible? Yeah,
Yeah,
lovely. So
Anza,
one
it
of the
might be
major
worthwhile.
concerns,
Sorry, it might be worthwhile
yeah,
for you to turn your video off and just leave your mic on, because that way you're using less data, and it'll work.
And you can also send your
I
questions over
am
chat.
I
I
am
think that's
doing
a
I'm
better.
already doing that. Avanza for the fifth time I'm
Yeah.
doing that. So
Now it's
how
working.
Yeah.
digital payment yeah, so how can payment solution help freelancers?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah,
I
it's
think
in the chat box.
Okay. Okay. Freelancers. Freelancers.
Freelancers. Okay.
okay. This is where Sada Pay comes in.
Yeah.
This is where Sada
So,
Pay.
so one of the verticals that SadaPay in particular, and I'm technically not authorized to speak about them in terms of, I'm an investor, I'm not a member of their company, team. But one of the verticals they're looking at is freelancers, because they're creating agreements to channelize that money back into Pakistan through legal ways at a no fee kind of structure. Existing structures like Payoneer, well, PayPal is not available in Pakistan, Western Union, etc., are charging as high as 8% in fee. So imagine, I've been told as per data that the number in terms of dollar value that the freelancers are generating out of Pakistan is somewhere between 500 million and $1 billion a month.
Yes, yes.
And an 8% fee on that converts to anywhere between 40 million and $80 million a month that could have been received in additional foreign direct remittances into Pakistan, which is currently going and staying outside Pakistan just in the guise of fees. So that automatically in itself makes the model bankable and feasible. That alone is enough, like kind of meat on the bone to make sure that the model works. The fact that we can do it for free or at a very very minimal cost, and create an additional, let's say, minimum of, even if we get half of it, 300 $400 million of additional remittance coming in, makes it a big company in terms of remittance collections. And for the freelancers, of course, it's great because they're going to be able to get more of the money that they actually earn available to them, rather than it going out in fees. So I've always believed that a high fee structure is very bad, because just like a high tax structure is very bad, because what that does is it stops transactions. So if you reduce the fee structure, you're going to lead to more transactions happening, because people don't have to think as much before committing a transaction, because the percentage of the transaction value is lower. So they're able to do multiple transactions. Even if they missed out on something, they'll still do it.
And these freelancers, if they're part of gig economy, so
Of course.
yes, so for them it's very important to have solutions which allow them to receive payments swiftly. Okay, so this can, we've seen globally, Payoneer, PayPal resolves this problem, and what we believe that people like SalaPay will actually, these will help freelancers to accept payments in more efficient, quickest manner, and which is also cost effective. So at the moment, the size of freelancers or gig economies for Pakistan is around $1 billion.
Right.
So and so they suffer how to bring money into Pakistan, and then they have to pay around 8%, which is hell of an amount.
Right.
So from
and and,
consumer,
and then
yeah,
also
and
there's going to be the ability to pay
yeah.
merchants, because so that's where we come in with Blinq. And Asif, maybe you can talk a little bit about that. Okay, how, for example, if someone eventually, not initially, but if someone's sitting there and they want to make a payment, how, through by linking through a digital wallet, they can actually be making merchant payments to the businesses, or vice versa.
Obviously, that is our model. Actually, what we do is actually first we digitalize it, well, then comes the option of the payments, in which the customer, at the end customer, has multiple options to choose from. He can either use internet banking to pay their bills, the mobile wallets to pay their bills, whether it be any wallets that are available in Pakistan. We have they are actually our partners, whether it be apps, shelf, they have a model in which you can pay directly from the bank account using your bank account number and NIC number. You can make the payments. Similarly, all the wallets will be live with them through OneLink, or we can directly integrate with these wallets as well and make the end consumer give multiple options of payment. Even Visa and Master and Union is available through us. So what we do is we provide multiple channels to end consumer to choose from and pay for the services that we have in the first phase digitalize the bills for.
Right. And I
You
was
know,
told that the wallet number of wallets in Pakistan is about 30 million at the moment.
it's,
However, I
it's,
think
it's, it's, it's around 50 million wallets, but only 30% of them are active actually.
and that is because there's not enough use cases at the moment, barring peer-to-peer payments. Primarily, that's what it's being used for. कि okay जी मुझे easy पैसा भेज दें, मुझे jazz cash में balance transfer दे दें. But as of yet, you see the use cases don't exist to a large enough degree. And with Blinq, we hope to create those use cases, because once you have, for example, all the schools on board, it's not about me paying a person to person. It's going to be me paying, maybe even from my digital wallet, into a school's account, which may be with a regular bank, or me paying from a regular bank account into a wallet for some sort of a professional service, some sort of, even like if it's your carpenter coming over or a plumber who comes over, you know, you would be able to pay them even without having a digital wallet, through a app, through a billing aggregation service like Blinq.
What I see, being part of that ecosystem, then where Pakistan, we all agree that is a very heavily cash-driven economy. You know. So I see tax is a very big impediment for digital transactions. Most of the players, most of the people are comfortable to pay through cash. They know that they are out of the cash, they are out of the tax ambit, and this is where merchants are happy to receive COD, which is cash on delivery, and still more than 80% transactions are done through cash based in case of e-commerce transactions. So people who are the ideal scenario for wallet is about P2P, or absolutely right, but they love to get cash. Okay, so if I have to pay someone in Larkana, so what I do, I deposit in I send money in his NIC, and then he goes to the agent and cash take out of it. So he's very happy that he's out of the cash ambit, and that's what merchants are doing. That's what most of the people are doing. So I think unless we change the mindset of payer and
So
those who are receiving
there's a
money,
reason for that.
and
There's, there's a reason for that, because at the other end, you see, they are not able to use a digital type of currency at the moment. And by digital, I mean just electronic cash kept in a bank account. So they have to withdraw cash if it's a small village and he has to buy sugar or tea or atta or whatever it is. He's not able to make those payments at the moment digitally, and that's why he has to physically withdraw the cash. But with the wallets and integration of billing aggregation, you will see that that will change. And there's a question that what exactly what does bill aggregation mean? Asif, if you can.
Yeah, sure, sure. Basically, as I started, what we do is bill aggregation. What it means is we connect to merchants and make them available, collect their billing data. For example, give an example. I'll connect to a manufacturing concern whose billing data will be either would be pulled into our billing engine through an API or through our billing software that we provide them. And now that since that data is when that data comes into our system, now it's available to all the billing channels that we are integrated with, like all the wallets, all the internet banking account, with apps, with NIFT. We are live with Visa and Master. We are live. So what bill aggregation means, that pulling the data from a from a merchant system and presenting them to all available digital channels. This is what bill aggregation is.
then you are aggregating multiple billers, either they are a school, college, university. So it's like creating a biggest data of billing engine. Okay, and then
Can
people,
disputed transactions also occur? I mean, this is a question, so I'm
Yes,
just
yes.
of course,
Of
if you
course
make
they can.
transactions, this will always happen that sometimes
Well,
merchants don't receive payment, or maybe customer don't receive what they ordered. So dispute transactions will always happen, and then we have next
a
day when
settlement team.
transactions are reconciled, so they are identified, or maybe on the basis of customer complaint, and then they are settled. So we have very profound system and mechanisms for customer and dispute
No, but these are
resolutions in
all,
Pakistan.
We
these transactions are all, you see, because they're non-reversible transactions when you're doing bill payments, for example. So, Asif, I don't think you can have disputes, right? Because you initiate the payment, so there can't be a dispute.
there can be a dispute. There can be a dispute,
Can be
but
a
that dispute
dispute.
it is settled. We have a settlement team that would connect. For example, if a dispute is being raised through some sort of integration with apps, I will collect that dispute, raise it to apps. Apps would settle it from the bank where the dispute has been risen, and accordingly the customer would be informed.
But
Right.
there can
But
always be a disputed transaction case. Either maybe
sure,
system is not working when transaction
right.
has to be authorized, and one of the systems falls down. So that always exists.
But I think it's fair to
Outside.
say that by doing it this way, there'll be less disputes because the transactions are being initiated. So there's less chance, I would think, of fraud because you're using existing banking infrastructure, which is very safe to do a lot of these, especially bill payments. So the chances of a dispute can happen that the bill has not been paid, and the customer may say that they've paid it in the event of a technical glitch. But the chance of fraud is far less because the transaction has to be initiated by the customer, and it's not like a
You're
credit
very true.
card where they're going to be online using some sort of a third party website which they might not be secure with, or their credit card number getting leaked, etc.,
You know,
because they're just
in case of billing, so you are paying for something which you are already using,
right.
either against the utility or your children's school fee or any hospital fee. Okay, so in this case you can say it's a closed loop type of transaction. It's not like you're ordering something and then you will receive later on. So you are paying against your services, so you are already tightly hooked up with the system. So there are less chances in case of bill payment transactions in comparison to someone is buying something online. So, okay, so can also e-payment systems come with increased cost and the need to protect private information in terms of this is a perception, that e-payments are expensive than cash-based transaction. I think that
It's not
it's not
false.
true. When you have digitization, when you have electronic payment, so it is cost effective, it is time effective. Okay, I remember the comparison was done. In case of e-payment, it is around 5 to 6% at max, versus cash. It is around more than 10%. Actually, it is 10 to 15%. It's a cash-based transaction. I belong to e-commerce fraternity. So what happens that if you are making, as a merchant, if you are enabling e-commerce transactions, so it is around 2 to 3%. Okay, but versus COD, it is more than 2%. What happens that you receive your fund via courier company, they keep funds more than 15 days. So you have to calculate the cost.
Right.
You receive your payment after 15 days. So a biggest amount of your cash flow is out of your bank account. So what is the cost? And then they receive their service charges against collecting cash. So cash is more than 10%, and digital is around 2 to 3%. And then add what is coming into the future, which is RAST. So RAST is instant payment system. So all those transactions will be instantly settled with the merchants. There is no holding funds within bank's account. So it will be
Right.
cheaper, it will be cost effective. And once we have the pipe which allows us to, have access bank accounts on a cheaper cost, so we will pass on to the merchants. Naturally, we will pass on to the merchants. Like in our case, the card-based transactions is around 3%, plus minus, depending on the merchant. And in case of account-based transaction, it is at least 30% less than card-based transaction, because we are like a scheme. We have account-based transaction with us. We directly integrate with the banks. So MDR is less than card-based transaction, and we pass on to the merchants. You know.
Right.
So
And I think with Rust coming, it's actually very good because it's the third one coming up. And while it will help with the digital infrastructure, it also makes for a better case for integration of other companies, whether it's the wallets, whether it's companies like Blinq, or I guess, apps as well. Uh, because what it does, I mean, State Bank is the regulator. While it can create the environment and it can create the backbone, what it certainly cannot do is deal with every single small dispute resolution. And that's, I mean, it's not done anywhere in the world as well. So that's why you would have the ecosystem created where companies like Blink and all will thrive, because since we integrate the billers and we provide the consumers and customers with the ability to make those payments, we also deal with the resolution of those any issues that may come, and with any technical or hand holding things that may be needed for the merchants to come on board and to keep upgrading the system to be sure that they have the latest and most innovative products and features available to offer to their customers. In fact, we are quite excited that if ROS comes out, because it will help us with being able to get more people, more merchants on board.
So I think just to
Wrap up.
give my
Ji.
final thought about, I think it's really exciting time. And if you just see around what is happening, there are too many fintechs which are coming up into the scene and they are becoming regulated entities. And in between, we have fintechs like Blinq and Hubble and QuickPay who are also aggregating merchants. So next 5 years are really important for the industry with RAS is coming up into the scene and all those regulated and non-regulated entities can make full leverage of that. So it's really exciting and I really believe that industry will seriously increase and people will have wonderful and amazing solution with their smartphones to make digital transactions. Thank you.
Awesome.
Again,
Okay, ji, let's
it's
start.
yeah, just to wrap it up, it is basically the time right now. The market is so humongous that players like all other competitions, this helps the market right now to build. So again, amazing times, and we're looking forward to digital payments and digitalizing the entire Pakistan.
Inshallah. Thank you, and thank you for listening and bearing with us. Uh,
Thank you.
all right. Thank you, CxO.
Thanks.
I don't know if you can hear.